Saturday.
In the middle of,
Okay.
it's nice. You're nice.
Oh, that's so
How long are you taking?
Ooh. Strawberry and cream.
Strawberry side.
I was gonna say,
Nobody wants to eat a cupcake. Come on. And those are fancy cupcakes.
Well, it depends, Ricky. If I'm off camera, I'll eat it.
Tilly, can you text Anna?
Oh my goodness, he probably doesn't need a cupcake.
I will do that.
She told me she was coming. I just don't know if she knows what room it's in.
It's your birthday.
Sunday, October 30th.
Oh, you're,
They both.
you're Scorpio, my two kids are Scorpio. I'm October, but I'm Libra. I'm a Libra.
Another
too.
She's
Libra
right behind
in the
us,
house.
The
Marciana.
balance that is never in balance.
What day?
The balance that is never in balance.
What, 20?
It's when Ellie and I joined.
What, my age?
Yeah.
What's that?
No, not age. I'm sorry.
I'm like, look, I'm
No, the
September,
date.
Mike.
The date.
Oh, October 1st.
October.
And you?
September 29th.
Oh, no.
So Michelle, it is a tad bit after 2:30. Welcome everyone to College Council. Certainly want to welcome those who are watching live via YouTube. We would not be able to do this hybrid meeting without our great classified professionals. So thank you to Sean and Janelli and everyone who makes it possible for our campus community to be able to watch the meeting without having to come in person. So hello to everyone out there in YouTube land. College Council is the highest level of governance at our college. The individuals who I'm going to introduce momentarily are leaders of their respective constituency groups. They are here to serve you and the campus. If at any time you would like to add an agenda to College Council, you can do so by doing one of two things: emailing Janelli or Ira in the president's office and simply asking for an item to be added to College Council, or working with one of these fine professionals who I'm going to introduce momentarily, who are your campus leaders, to be able to bring forth discussion items for College Council. Before I get into introductions, and it's actually part of the introductions, we have a guest who is here visiting us from Louisiana. We want to give Chandler a strong San Diego City College family welcome. And as you all go around, you'll be able to introduce yourself so that Chandler knows who you are. Chandler is interested in being a college president, and so he and I have been working with each other over the last year or so, and today kind of culminates that. He happened to be in town for another conference, and so we got to see our wonderful college and meet many of our faculty, classified professionals, and other folks who are either students or work at our college. So Chandler, if you wouldn't mind beginning by introducing yourself.
Sure. So I am Chandler LaBeouf. I serve as the Vice President for Advanced Initiatives for Fletcher Technical Community College, which is in South Louisiana.
And if we can just go around and we'll do that as the roll call. So to your left is our president of the Academic Senate. And we can just go around and everyone can introduce themselves. And while you're doing that, I'm going to run and figure out what I did with my mask, because I just realized I didn't have it. But
Oh, so I'm Maria Jose Celedon Perez, and I am Communication Studies faculty, the Academic Senate President, and I also do the mentees program here at City College.
And I'm Anna Rogers. I'm an English faculty member, and I support our equity initiative and our math.
Sunal Badness, President of the Chairs Cabinet, Program Coordinator for AFP's M&M, Mentors and Mentees, and Chair of the Philosophy Department at Teach Philosophy.
Diego Bay, and Associate Student Government President of ASG. And hello.
Welcome, Chandler. Tilly Chavez, Vice President of Instruction.
Good afternoon, Robbie Yule, Dean of Information and Learning Technology.
Sean Ryan, and I'm currently serving as the Classified Senate President, and I also support classroom technology.
I'm Gerald Ramsey, I'm the Foundation's Board Chair.
Marshall Bennett, Vice President, Student Services.
John Parker, Vice President, Administrative Services.
Peter Lopez, Information Officer. Marcel White, Dean for School Behavioral Social Sciences and Consumer Analyst.
Roxanne Solis, Administrative Services, I'm a guest here.
Jim Purnell, the newly appointed SPANA Site Director. And I'm also the Facilities Supervisor for City College. Welcome.
Well, Chandler, this is your new family members here at San Diego City College. Chandler was sharing with me that his college refers to people as family members as well. And I don't know if there's anything else you'd like to share.
One, I'd just say I've been here today, it's my first day, and some of you I've met on Zoom previously, and actually probably many of you, because I did sit on the college council on Zoom at one point. So thank you again for your hospitality. I would say in the South we have the best hospitality, but you guys really rolled out the carpet for my visit today, so I appreciate it. And again, I think the love that you have for everybody really does show, and that's how we say for us, for us it's family.
So again, thank you. For those who are watching on YouTube, these are the leaders of our campus, and they would welcome the opportunity to hear any of your concerns, ideas, agenda items for College Council. Speaking of that, you all should have received the meeting notes from October 11th. If we can have a motion for approval or any corrections to the October 11th meeting notes. Any brave soul would like to make a motion?
John Parker, I'll motion.
Got a first from John Parker,
Second.
second from Maria Jose. Any further discussion about the meeting notes? Hearing none, all in favor indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Would anyone like to abstain?
I'm abstaining.
Okay. Yes, so we have Sean abstaining. There was a stand-in, I believe, for the last meeting. Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Again, thank you, Janelle, for your efforts with the meeting notes. And we have one of our amazing faculty members here leading our efforts on our equity plan that needs to be submitted. And so I'm going to turn it over to Anna Rogers.
Okay. So we went through the first read at the last meeting, and so I have some handouts. It is the same handout that you received last meeting. So if you already got it and you don't need it, there might not be quite enough. But what I would like to do is actually very quickly, because we went through all of the metrics, just kind of summarize what you have in front of you and a little bit more on where we are now. So what you have is the summary, the full plan. Actually, Janelle, I just sent you new links for the full plan and the summary that you have. The plan is set up, so just as a reminder, it starts with a reflection component at the very beginning where we actually go back, we look at the plan that we we were working from prior to the new plan, consider what we did, and then think about, thank you so much. And then think about what we need to continue to work on or where our successes were with the prior plan. So that reflection piece includes all of that. Then the second component of the plan, which is the major piece of the plan, is the structural evaluation around the 5 metrics for equity. So those metrics are successful enrollment, and you'll see that the summary is broken up this way. So successful enrollment, and then we have math and English completion within 1 year. We have persistence from fall to spring, and then we have completion, and then we have transfer. So those are the 5 metrics that we work with. The plan asks us to select our most disproportionately impacted student populations and then do a structural analysis around those populations. So under each metric, we have looked at the disproportionately impacted populations and then done that structural analysis. There are some blanket trends. So the summary document provides you with the populations that we targeted and under each metric, and then the measurement outputs that we've set as our goals under the plan. And then bulleted are the interventions. These are described fully in the full plan. The one that is the anomaly is our successful enrollment population. That is our white students are showing up as disproportionately impacted there. And the group that worked on successful enrollment, and so this is just a reminder, we don't feel like we know enough about what's happening in that group to actually figure out what to do around that population. Because it is not, and the DI is coming up in the female category. So what we've done is actually established a set of measurement outputs that are focused around building our institutional capacity to determine what's happening with that group. The data is new, so we don't know that this is an existing trend, but we suspect it could be explained by a couple of things, one of which being that white non-economically disadvantaged females tend to actually be enrolling at 4 years in higher numbers than they are at community colleges. So that could be contributing to it, but we also know that the white population has a range of ethnicities represented within it. So because we don't know where the DI is and what that means, because our Middle Eastern students are categorized under the white population. So without making those determinations, we don't feel like we can safely create an intervention. So what we've outlined here is actually building the capacity to sort out the issue, and then within the final year of the plan to actually address the disproportionate impact once we know what's happening. And that includes asking for guidance from the state on what to do if it does turn out to be that non-economically disadvantaged white females are actually just attending 4 years at higher rates, and that's a contributing factor. You know,
May I ask a question, or how would you prefer the dialogue? Do you want to go through it? Do you want to take questions after each one? What would be your?
I can do it in any way that you would like.
Okay.
The summary of the remaining initiatives is simpler.
Okay.
They are more traditional.
Okay.
So I can do that, or I can take questions on the first metric, because it's the one there are general questions on.
I am fine either way, so whatever your preference level.
Okay, I'll go through.
Okay.
Okay, and then we'll open for a question. So as we move forward, math and English. So quick reminder, we found that our disproportionate impact is for females. We also found that it's on the math side of things, so that's the driver. Females are completing English at higher rates, and then they're completing math at actually, it's almost like a seesaw. So they're completing at about 4% higher in English and 4% lower in math. And so the interventions there are focused on improving outcomes for females in math. Within that, we discovered disproportionate impact in our Filipino population. So we're going to add an additional layer of focus around Filipinas. And even though, and so this is another area where in our plan, we're doing something slightly different. We have historically had a trend of African-American females being disproportionately impacted in math, but our most recent data set tells us that they are not anymore. But we don't feel confident enough in that single year of data to actually say, good to go, done. So we're maintaining African-American females as a target population with the same supports that we've been, like an emphasis on the Umoja learning community and enhanced tutoring and those kinds of things, because we just don't feel like 1 year of non-disproportionate impact tells us that that everything is, we just think that needs to remain a focus. The next, so retention from primary term to secondary term. Again, that's the female population, but there it's specifically LGBTQ+. And so here, there's a lot that is going on around this population. The data sets are a little older, and then our most recent interventions, like the Pride Center, is not reflected. It's part of the new plan. The LGBTQ plus students are only just recently being included. They weren't in the previous plan, so we have no historic trends to look back at. But we want to put a focus on this group here and tie some of interventions here to what's been happening broadly in the campus, but then also attach to it some of the interventions that are designed to address the full student population, like improved program maps, a better access to some of the services. This is a population that's likely to need basic needs support because they experience, the LGBTQ population experiences more disruptions in family support networks. And then under retention, we also have Black or African American males. And so similarly, we're maintaining an emphasis on, here there is actual disproportionate impact. We're maintaining an emphasis on the MOJA, the surround support programs that are targeted towards African American and Black or African American males. The Umoja Puente and the Food Center, the campus engagement events, all of these metrics are also, we're calling for professional development under all of these metrics. And then again, the improved program maps, the improved course offerings, those interventions, those broad interventions that will help every student, but will actually, much like acceleration in math and English, will help those students that are most disproportionately impacted. Under completion, this is one of the completion and transfer are two metrics where we actually see a continuing trend. So under both metrics, Latino males are disproportionately impacted. And so here it's similar, professional development, the program maps. There's an added look at satisfactory academic progress appeals and streamlining that process. And for Latino males, both as we get to transfer, emphasis on job opportunities, like making them more visible and making them intentionally, kind of putting them out there into spaces for Latino males so that they can actually access job opportunities that are student friendly and support them in their educational endeavors. And then increasing like the Promise program outreach to Latino males. And then the Puente Learning Community, Hubu, City Scholars. And then additionally, there's the Homeroom Project, which is the project that's taking shape in the English department to use English 101 and additional personal growth classes as homerooms, where students are intentionally connected to services at key points in their trajectory. And so we're like mapping that pipeline to provide kind of 1-year connections for students at the 101 level, and then at the 205 level, focus on transfer connections for students. So that will be intended to help support completion and then as we move to transfer, much of this is similar, but with an emphasis now on transfer as like highlighting our Latino male mentors on campus who have selected higher education as so bachelor's degrees and beyond as their career paths, so that those are like viable options for our Latino males, and connecting our Latino males with mentors. And then again, professional development, Hubu, the learning communities that support Latinos and Latino males, and then the additional transfer-oriented support programs, SACNA's PATH, the MESA program, the honors program. And then again, the second phase of the Homeroom Project will focus on transfer supports that are connecting students through the classes that they're in. Okay, let me stop talking and open it for questions.
What did you cover last year?
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed one. Thank you, Marciano. I'm sorry, we have a second population in transfer. I apologize. Foster youth are also coming up as disproportionately impacted in transfer. The conversation around that, the data that we're working with is from before the implementation of Next Step. So we feel like Next Step is actually filling a lot of those gaps, but in conversations, there are areas where the Next Step program is limited. And so we want to work kind of with that, the Umoja model where they've actually opened up some loose connection points that enable students to kind of pop in and take advantage. And Puente is doing a similar thing, where students can pop in without being completely formally attached to the program. So leveraging that idea with the Next Step program and to create like a foster youth affinity group that can pull in some of the foster youth that don't qualify for Next Step, and then building a foster youth transfer mentor program pilot. And there's already people who are interested in volunteering as mentors. And then working collaboratively with the local 4 years to actually make the bridge between institutions tighter and more supportive so that foster youth don't feel like they're stepping into a void as they transition from our institution to the next institution. And then basic needs support in this area as well. Okay, and now I'll open it up to questions.
Any questions?
One question. What does DI stand for?
Oh, I'm sorry, it's disproportionately impacted, yes.
Any other questions, comments? So, thank you for doing this. There are a lot of things here that I'm impressed with. And then there are other things that we're doing that I don't see. What would be the appropriate way to communicate that? And certainly my expectations is that the vice presidents would be involved because they would have that level of knowledge. But just as an example, the meeting we have every Tuesday where we go over interventions, a lot of those interventions that are underway are not listed. So what are they in the actual bigger plan? Was it intent to not list those? Help me understand that piece.
No, so it depends on what they are and what they target. So the way that the plan asks us to report is very specifically around the population and the metric.
Yes.
So if there's something that's missing at this point, I'm not actually sure because the plans move through the Senate at this point. So to add in.
But these are not things that we would be they're already underway. These are things that are already in process. And depending on if the members of the Senate were aware of those things, depending on where they represented in the Senate, they may not, like the only folks who would have, the only folks who I would expect really to have knowledge about some of the interventions that are underway are the people who are involved in those interventions who are likely to not be on the Senate and or the vice presidents because they oversee said, or deans oversee said interventions.
Yeah, so if there's things that we should add, I'm actually gonna, but I don't actually have any issues with adding things that we are already doing, that we know are doing that are actually in alignment, that we can drop in, but I'm gonna defer because I don't know.
I mean, we would just have to make the amendment and just vote on the amendment, which I don't think will be a major issue, but I'm just a little confused because this is what they're foreseeing, right, of what needs to be done in order to positively impact these populations. So if we're already doing some of them, how is that related? Because we won't see the results until later. So I'm not sure if you have been doing those interventions for a while or if they're brand new interventions that are put into place, because this is telling us, they're telling us what are the things that we should do in order to positively impact these groups.
So let me give an example, and I appreciate what you're saying. And so just the first thing that came to my mind is I just had a meeting with Masa and a group of Filipinos yesterday and Asian Pacific Islanders to talk about the Anapizi grant.
Oh,
There are things that are underway in that grant that are not listed here in this box. And I think it would be natural to take from that, because that's an intervention that would then go here. And there are things that are in progress. And when I say in progress, they're at various stages of being implemented, but they're not listed here. But at a minimum, I think listing that the college has a grant in this amount, that grant has interventions and.
so that's actually included in the full grant document.
Okay,
Yeah, so I apologize that I didn't call out that MPT grant.
okay,
But yes, in the Filipina section, the narrative around the MPT grant, so that's under math and English.
okay,
So in relation to that specific category, we've called out the new NPC grant until we actually determine. So the full narrative around that population, the NPC grant provides the framework for interventions until we can actually drill down and look more specifically at the Filipinas in that specifically. So that one was called out in the narrative, so apologies if it.
no apology.
Well, that brings me to, so does that mean the Title III is also, the STEM grant is also incorporated into it, or? Not necessarily.
I don't think I specifically saw, I don't think Title III.
STEM, the STEM grant. So I'm just, because.
I'm trying to
there is-
remember if that's a narrative or not. I think we talked about additional interventions, and I don't think I actually specifically called out the Title III grant. But it is.
But they're probably some of the same.
It would be similar.
interventions. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, yeah, so that's good. So they're all like linked to this work, the grant and.
Can I ask a question?
Which is awesome.
Yes.
So I'm listening to this exchange and are you saying, asking Ricky, those things that are happening on campus now, were those considered and they're still not identified in here? Were they considered or will they be referenced at some point in time? Is that what you are? As an example,
I mean, ultimately, that is what I'm asking to, and I apologize, I was not here at the last meeting. So there are some things that I would have liked to be listed in as an intervention that both I regularly talk about, the vice presidents and I regularly talk about. When I say we talk about, I'm talking about we talk about to the campus. Even as recent as yesterday, when I went to the academic senate, there were some things that I talked about in terms of strategies for working for adults and other populations that because there's intersectionality between some of these groups. There are some of the interventions, and when I say that are underway in various stages, right? In concept and discussion, and some of them are actually happening, but we would not have seen the results. Like, I'll just give an example. This fall, Marciano and his team did a Black student welcome. They did a Filipino or Asian Pacific Islander welcome. And they did a number of welcomes for students to connect them to resources that they may not have been aware of prior. To me, that meets what I would hope we would agree is an intervention that wasn't currently underway that gets at some of these populations. But I don't see that listed in any of the, target populations. And I absolutely know that that is a targeted intervention to get at some of these disproportionately impacted students.
So that would be, I mean, I don't see a problem with that. It's just the approval process. But they certainly map to that.
So let me ask this a different way. With what the vice presidents know are underway and whatever level of underway they are we satisfied that what Anna is presenting for approval adequately captures the interventions that are underway right now.
So if I can, I'm just gonna jump because what happened, just to explain the process a little bit, we each took an area. And so I may not have seen the other areas have been working on contribution to that. But we were also very careful about when in time and frame things have happened or happening. So I know, at least I thought that's what we did in like the one I was working on. So I'm assuming that that's how we were pretty consistent along the way, that things like the Anapisi grant hadn't even been on the table. I think you just probably put that one in, but I don't know, that's just kind of my mindset was there were so many things to put on there. We were just trying to address some of those questions right there, if I recall.
Yeah, and it may, so in the case of the welcome, if they're an intervention that happens further, like at the enrollment stage, or if they're later.
September,
So it's for new enrollments?
Yeah.
it was open to anyone.
Okay, yeah, so the only, so I've, the only thing I would say around that is it may have been, because the target population in the enrollment metric is white females. It may not have just cued in the thought process of the people working in that metric group.
No, so that piece makes sense, but for the other populations, there are absolutely interventions that are not listed here that I'm surprised are not listed here. And I'm trying to better understand why they're not listed.
And I'm trying to understand too, from the perspective, it seems to me that it's almost like very broad interventions.
Absolutely.
So for example, increased visibility of Latino male role models, then the panel that we did with the male role models would be an example of increasing visibility. Under professional development, then you would have a list of very specific things that we are doing as a campus. But here is really listing more of a broad, general.
Those are specific
Term.
activities.
Yes,
that-
and then
that
those
fit into
specific
these.
activities will be examples of what actually the plan, once the plan goes into motion, those are examples of actually us fulfilling that plan.
Got it. But again, my question that
That's how I understand.
and I, to some degree or another, understand it that way too. I'm just posing the question, are there though actual interventions that are not listed that should be?
You know, just as an outsider looking at this for the first time and no input, I heard just now that you're looking at, say, the macro piece of it, basically, but yet you do have some micro interventions listed, and maybe that's where this is not coming together. That's an example. I don't see anything in here that references EOPS or the TRIO program. And I know that some of the activities that go on in those programs, especially EOP, it specifically addresses these populations. So maybe that's, I don't want to speak for the president, but maybe that's.
So I don't want to hold this up. But to Gerald's point, it's just a first glance, I think that there were some things that I wish we would have considered listing that I don't see here, like the Lavender graduation. And then also let me say that I don't have my glasses on, so I'm trying to focus on the letters.
That's all the stuff that you missed.
But like so there are specifics and then there are generalities, but I think that I would suggest we consider approving the plan and then we can make whatever modifications. And I would ask that the vice presidents take another run through this and work with their constituency groups to pull out some specific programs that we're doing. Because if I was an outsider looking at this, I'd want to see some of the things that I know are going on that are not listed here, but that's just for consideration. Any other discussion points? If not, we shall take a motion for approval. I believe this is an action item. Yes.
Right, so that document just
Got it.
to read that summary and the full plan, yeah.
Other, does somebody like to make a motion for approval?
This is Sean Ryan. I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Maria Jose Serrano Perez, I make the second.
Any further discussion? Again, I would like to commission the vice presidents to work with Anna Rogers to look through these sections and pull out some of those prominent programs that are either in concept, implemented at whatever level, and consider adding those and then maybe taking them back. I can assure you that every time I go to the academic senate or other areas, people want to know the specifics as well. And there are some programs that are underway that are addressing these groups that are being identified. All in, any further discussion? All in favor indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any in opposition or anyone like to abstain? Motion carries. Again, thank you, Anna, for all your work and your continued dedication. You've been involved in this work for some time and it is absolutely noticed and appreciated. So thank you very much. Next up is a very important conversation, and I don't want to steal any thunder, so I'm going to turn it over to Suna to talk about professional accountability.
Yeah, so I had a very good tour of the R building with Robbie today. Thank you very much. And in talking with him, I realized that it's not just about accountability, it's about affirmation. And here I feel like I'm taking a page out of Maria Jose's book here. I think one of the things that, I mean, many of you know that I have worked in other industries. I worked in DC in nonprofit healthcare. I worked in a business. And one of the things I noticed when I came to academia is that the conventions of business and nonprofits and politics actually are really followed in academia. And so in talking with the chairs, I've realized that one of the things they want the most is to be affirmed and for people to take responsibility for themselves. And so I just think it's really important that we are always keeping in mind that when the chairs are coming in with a problem or faculty's coming in with a problem, that even if we're doing everything right, sometimes they just need to hear, yeah, that really sucks. And I'm sorry. Because even when things are going right and you're distributing $6 million, when you're saying, but all of this stuff is going well, all people hear is, your problem doesn't matter to me, we've done it well over here. And so I think it's really, I really appreciate talking to Rob today because I realized that distinction, it's really about affirmation and then just taking responsibility if you do screw up, because the chairs are super none of us are perfect, and they're absolutely they don't expect perfection. But if something goes wrong, they would just like people to say, you know what? I screwed up on this. I forgot to circle back on you to address this, but I'm gonna get to that here. So having consistent communication, being responded to within, whatever standard we set up, whether it's 48 business hours, right? In terms of email. So yeah, I don't want to belabor the point, but I appreciate the opportunity to walk around the R building and to finally have that clarification between affirmation and accountability. I think both of them are incredibly important, and I think it would go a long way towards just helping chairs sort of take a deep breath.
Agree completely that that is a standard that I hope that we all take into consideration and apply it, because certainly as the president of the college, I have made some mistakes and will make some mistakes. And as I was sharing with really the managers and the academic senate leadership, this is the most welcoming and accommodating environment that I've ever worked in. So folks should feel empowered to own up to whatever mistake, challenge that they may be facing. And I continue to be impressed with our academic senate leadership, that they would take the time to go to meet with Robbie or meet with John Parker or their respective areas so that you see the full picture. And part of the full picture is absolutely owning up when a mistake is made, and also ensuring that folks are knowledgeable about the realities of your respective challenges. And one of the challenges we are absolutely facing as a college is the hiring and training of 60+ people. The reality is that while Robbie is our senior dean, most veteran dean, the reality is most of the deans are in their positions less than 3 years, which means many of them are hired in COVID. The vice presidents will tell you we talk a lot about missed opportunities, and I don't like them, but we absolutely have to own them when they occur. We've missed some opportunities as we've transitioned back to campus. I hope when we get to Roxanne's presentation that it won't be a mixed opportunity to talk about health and safety rather, but we should do exactly as Sunai is suggesting. So I appreciate her having the courage to speak on this because it is in fact something that the vice presidents and I talk about in our weekly meetings, as do we talk about it in our weekly meetings with the academic senate. Any other comments, discussions for that topic? Hearing none, we will move on to an update on the San Diego City College Foundation. I want to thank our chair of the foundation for being here and John Parker. There are a lot of questions about the foundation. It's another area of the college that is in transition as we seek to hire 3 full-time people in that area. Before I turn it over to John, and hopefully I'm not stealing any of his thunder, I would remind the faculty who are here and listening that there is a vacancy on the foundation board for a faculty member. We had an adjunct who resigned. Gerald is in charge of that process. We would welcome the opportunity to have another faculty member on the foundation board. I'll also set the tone that the foundation is a standalone nonprofit with its own foundation board. About the bylaws for the foundation are listed on the college's website. So if you desire to learn more about the foundation outside of the presentation you all are going to hear, you can visit the link that you can get to the foundation page from the college's website. And I would hope people would ask questions about the relationship between the foundation and the college so that it is crystal clear on how the organizations work and in kind, and how can John Parker and Roxanne be paid by the college but on the foundation board. Those are all very legitimate questions that in fact have models of practice and answers to them. And John Parker is going to strategize on getting at some of those answers right now. John Parker.
Yes, thank you for teeing that up. And the answer to the latter is we volunteer. Voluntold to serve on the foundation board without any remuneration, and we are happy to do so. Item number 5A, the org chart. I don't know if we'll be able to bring that up for our online viewers, but you'll see in your packet the organization chart for the foundation.
And all of these documents were emailed out to the entire campus. So anyone watching online, these documents are in your email that was sent to the campus.
Correct. Thank you. You'll notice here that the position in the middle, the Director of Development and Entrepreneurship, reports directly to President Shabazz as the City College President, with a dotted line to the City College Foundation. This position has been approved. It has been closed. We are in the process of screening resumes. We received 18 resumes this time. The first posting, we only received 4 or 5, I believe. So we sent it back out, and thank you for bringing that up. And we included some foundation and development, not-for-profit organizations on there, which will hire applications and interest in the position. We were hoping to have it closed by November. Looks like it will be more in the lines of December, but prior to the end of this calendar year. The remaining positions that report to the director, the development coordinator and the administrative assistant, each of those positions has been approved by the board. And as the PJFs are sitting in my office to be routed for approval. However, I will be soliciting committee members, volunteers for each of these committees as we post for these positions in the very near future. Mr. Chair, is there anything that you wanted to add to this, or shall I continue?
Go ahead.
Okay. And I'll finish up with the IEPI grant. As President Shabazz was mentioning, please, we welcome any questions regarding how the foundation functions, the purpose of the foundation, how it helps meet the mission of the college. As Roxanne and I do serve on the board with our chair here, Mr. Ramsey. We did receive, as you may know, a $200,000 IEPI grant to help with part of that, to increase the exposure of the foundation, to help our constituencies, help our employees, our alumni, our donors be more involved and to educate them about the purpose and the mission of the foundation. We also are using those funds to help develop our strategic plan, implement the CRM, increase technology, and additional alumni and scholarship events. We just completed our retreat, the foundation retreat, last month. We got a lot of good information and feedback. It was a half-day retreat that will help inform our strategic plan, and as we refine it going forward, and which we will distribute. And I will be presenting to the campus as well. Mr. Chair, anything that I can add to that?
No, I just had a couple of non-related comments. And that is, you'll excuse me, you'll see something via email, no doubt, encouraging you to either attend the foundation meeting or talk to John, Ricky, or Roxanne, or myself about the foundation and our strategic plan, what our vision is and what we plan to do and how you can help, mostly how you can help. We will be soliciting from time to time as we have projects come our way. We'll be soliciting your input and your assistance with bringing some closure to those projects or other things that we're trying to do on behalf of students. We would welcome the opportunity for some of our board members to attend your class, those faculty members to attend your classes and speak to your classes about not just the foundation, but more specifically some career opportunities in the areas in which they serve. So you'll get some stuff from us, and we really would like to have a more active and productive relationship with faculty and staff on campus, because everything that we do is just about student success and helping you implement this equity plan, because a lot of the equity issues that we address are really rooted in the economics and education of the community and students. And that takes money, and we are in the business of hopefully we're in the business of successfully raising money on deploying resources to the college that ordinarily wouldn't come that way via general fund funding. The other thing I'd like to encourage you to do, if you would, to lead by example, and that is if you don't already have a payroll deduction for a small amount of money being directed to the foundation, we would encourage you to do that. We don't ask for a lot, but $10, $25, something that you probably wouldn't miss when you balance your checkbook. So we encourage you to do that, and encourage your colleagues to do so also if you're doing it. Don't think I have anything else. John talked about the retreat that we had, so you'll be getting some information on that later. And I think Ricky mentioned that we would really like to have that faculty spot filled as soon as possible.
I'd just like to add real quick also regarding the IEPI grant. The initial deadline was January of 2023, a couple months from now. We did receive approval to extend that out one more year to January 2024. That's it. Thank you, sir.
Questions about the foundation?
Just because I'm new to that, what is the IEPI grant for?
The innovation and effectiveness,
This is a test, John, you gotta get it right.
institutional effectiveness, I forget the PI. I'm sorry, you put me on the spot. But it's a grant that we applied for through the state successfully. We had to go through the process of explaining what our objectives were, some of the deliverables and the outcomes, and how it would benefit the foundation in supporting the college's mission. So that was the max you could receive. So we applied for the max of $200,000. We were approved for that. Did you Google it?
A partnership initiative.
Thank you.
Institutional
Institutional
effectiveness.
effectiveness partnership and initiatives.
I had to Google it too, so don't worry.
Yeah, and I would just add that the state, about 4 or 5 years ago, because it had a budget surplus, set aside money for the community colleges to improve processes. And so community colleges can apply for an IEPI grant to approve any process that you want to improve. So in our case, this is our second IEPI grant. The first one was to improve our committee structure. And so when that concluded, I actually wrote the grant, as it has been 5 years in the making to get the foundation to a point where we had 3 employees. So at the time, the then president of the Academic Senate, Darius Spearman, or the acting president, was a part of it, as well as the classified Senate, Jocelyn. So this IEPI grant, like any other process, went through our shared governance process. What you do with an IEPI grant is you're asking for an external team to come in of experts and evaluate something that you want to improve on your college. And they give recommendations. So in our case, they looked at our endowment for the foundation, which is nearly $4 million or so, and said, look, if we look across community colleges that have similar endowments, they typically have 2 employees, 3 employees, 4 employees. You have no employees. So if you had 3 or 4 employees, you could probably get that 4 million to be 8 million or to be 6 million or whatever, to have greater engagement with donors and prospective donors and alumni. And so that is really 4 years in the making. We applied for the grant, we're implementing the grant. It's taken us a little longer, as it has with all the hiring on campus, to hire the director. But I believe that that person will be here in short order, more likely to be January or February. There are faculty on that hiring committee. There will be faculty and classified on all of the hiring committee as these will be employees of the college, as they are, I would say, in upwards of 80% of the foundations. You have 1 or 2 ways to run it, either external employee, internal employee. With the external employee, they can't access any of our student records. So an external employee could not email Maria Jose and ask her to give $20 for a scholarship for communications. Nor could they email alumni in communications to give $20 for a scholarship. An internal employee has the same rights and access to records based on our approval of records to be able to do that. And so that's the thought, if anyone is inquiring. The foundation goes through an audit similar to our district audit, and adheres really to a lot of, not all, but a lot of the same policies and procedures. Where we have a greater amount of freedom is with the money that we raise. It doesn't have to go through the same bureaucracies as the college has. So it's easier to receive money, it's easier to write a check. Other questions? Hearing them, what I would ask is that maybe once a semester or once a year, whatever is the pleasure of the Academic Senate and Classified Senate, that John and Gerald and the soon-to-be director, once we hire them, make regular presentations so that people are informed about the foundation. Certainly anyone watching or in this room can always go to the foundation website, where I hope the meeting agendas and the notes are. And if they're not, I'll ask Janelli to work with Caesar to make sure that those are up, because certainly we do have meeting notes and agendas for those meetings. Any other questions or any other comments about the foundation? Hearing none, thank you, Gerald. Always good to see you. And we will turn it over to Vice President Tilly to provide an update on the cyber VA program.
Thank you, Ricky. Just a quick update, kind of taking us back where we were before. We all came together and approved to have a baccalaureate program under our cyber defense and data analysis program. And so we applied back in January. And thank you to everyone for supporting that. And big thank you to David Kennemer, who I'm sure is paying attention and listening to us as well, who's really been leading this endeavor. We did the application, and interesting enough, long story short, we've actually received a provisional approval through the state. Provisional approval, a couple of things that needed to be done for us. And one of them is there was some duplication paperwork that maybe Ricky, we can have a little chat on that a little bit after this. So we responded to some questions that was there some duplication with one of the universities, et cetera. We went through all of that. And then also the provisional was we still needed to apply for ACCJC accreditation, substantive change. So we didn't do that thinking, what if we didn't get it, spend the money, et cetera. So they're still trying to actually figure out this process as we're in it. So right now where we are, I understand that, thank you to everyone that's contributed. The ACCJC application was just submitted today. So we'll see how that works and where we go with that piece of it. What else did I put here? We're still working on building the curriculum out for the future. Our hopes is to be able to bring this program to our college fall of 2024. And there are anything else on there that you would like me to add?
Yes, thank you, Tilly. We are, so I think it is noteworthy to acknowledge the hard work and dedication of David and our great cybersecurity program here at City College. The way this works is that, and just as a reminder, it has to be career related, it has to be connected to industry sectors. The CSUs and the UCs pretty much have first right of refusal. There was a CSU who put up opposition. They had until Friday to respond accordingly. The way it works is that there cannot, so the notion of duplication has to do with the CSU and UC. There is a CSU who believes that there is duplication. They did not submit the necessary paperwork by the deadline. And so we are proceeding forward as though we are going to offer a bachelor's degree in cybersecurity in the fall of 2024. This is something we should be excited about, that we should celebrate the faculty member and this college, but we are not out of the woods.
No.
And so now we really need your support in the next 3 days. John Parker, myself, the chancellor, and our board of trustees, and you can join us in seeking written support for City College having this program. And so I don't know how the resolution process works, Maria Jose, but I know you all have been doing a lot of resolutions. And if there was ever a resolution that I think and I would like to advocate for would be that the Academic Senate formally support David in his cybersecurity program and offering the bachelor's degrees here at City College. Certainly I would ask Tilly and David maybe to get on the agenda for the Academic Senate. This eventually will go in front of the State Community College board for approval. And so I will be meeting, as well as John Parker, with our elected officials, seeking their written support of this. Our local, federal, and state elected officials, so that we can convey to the board of trustees. Now, like any other board meeting, when this goes before the board of trustees, there will be an opportunity for public comment. That is likely when we're going to see the CSU, which shall remain nameless because there's only one in opposition. It is our neighbor and it's not the big one. So let's just say it that way, who may show up and voice their opposition. I think we shared with you all, frankly, that I thought this was going to get shut down. And I was not prepared for this to go forward until I met with David. And he was open for the fight because this is an outdated view and elitism and the educational master plan, which was written in the 60s, that establishes what a UC can offer, a CSU can offer, and a community college can offer. And I was so encouraged by David that I was willing to take on, frankly, Goliath. And right now, Goliath is hiding in the woodworks, trying to figure out how they can stop this, but they may not be able to because the provision in the law and the Ed Code as it's written says that we can do this as long as another CSU or UC does not have it. And technically speaking, they have an emphasis, they have a focus, but they don't have a major and they don't have a minor. Now, that doesn't mean they're not working on one.
Especially now.
But as it stands, there should be no reason why San Diego City College, under the leadership of David and our great faculty, shouldn't have a bachelor's degree in cybersecurity. And so the next 2 or 3 weeks, my entire focus is going to be on seeing this through the finish line, which means getting letters of support from elected officials, community members. Would be happy if we had one from the academic senate so that the community knows that this is a public benefit. And why is this a public benefit? Our faculty already teach both here and at the university level, right? This is not a question of quality. We also know that a bachelor's degree at a community college is at an affordable rate, which is something that all of our students should have, an affordable, high quality education. And then lastly, which is probably the most important thing with respect to this process, these folks will get jobs, and not just any jobs, but above livable wage jobs. There is a shortage of folks in cybersecurity, and I don't know how many times you all receive emails and you wonder whether you should click on it or not. Who better to help with that process than a San Diego City College student? And that is my soapbox. If I could add to it, we need your help. We need your written help. We need your written support. And you'll be hearing from me in the coming days what that looks like. But Maria Jose, if there is a way that there could be a resolution in support of this, and Tilly, if you would get with David. I am looking to write an op-ed also on this because the CSU needs to be challenged for standing in the way of the public good with no legitimate reason as to why to stand in the way.
Yeah.
And I.
Worry.
And David is watching, he confirmed.
We're with David.
Yes.
Go David, thank
What do
you.
you have, Cesar?
Yeah, we're ready. I'm ready. My
Yes.
marching law-
I'd like to let Tilly know, I'll go get his name, his contact info. We have a guy on our board who is a cyber security expert.
Perfect.
Secret Service agent, actually. He's local. He actually inquired about whether or not we had a program here. And so I think he may be a very valuable resource. His name is Lance Mueller, but I'll get his contact information to you.
Thank you very much.
And that's a great example of what we need. If you have contacts with business, the business community, our elected officials, the more letters of support that establish that this is necessary and there is support for this, that we want to flood the meeting that is likely to be in November with that information. More details are forthcoming as we really go through a process that is new to all of us. So again, thank you publicly to David and everyone who supported this effort. David, it looks like this may indeed happen.
And David says, convey my appreciation for the support. So thank you.
Any other questions on that? Speaking of cybersecurity, and this is a perfect segue to APVP 3720. It's in your packet, it was emailed to the campus. There is a process moving through shared governance at the college and the district that talks about the use of emails. And there are a number of research studies that say the more emails you receive, the least likely you are to read. I know in the spirit of tsunami, I know I have missed some emails that I've had to go back and look through. I don't know about you all, but I've worked at other colleges where the type of emails that we receive on a daily basis would have never been sent. That doesn't mean that there won't be emails sent. That just means how do we focus on the use of email for its intended purpose? And frankly, if we're sending emails of a nature that people are not reading, then it's not serving its purpose. That is a high level overview of what APBP 3720 is seeking to do. And so it is important that you take this information back to your constituency groups, because someone's going to say, and has already said, they are trying to censor us. That couldn't be further from the truth. What we're trying to do is ensure that the use of the college and the district's email is for its intended purpose. There are other platforms for communicating other things, and we're looking to streamline that to be more effective and more efficient, to the degree that we may not have to get 400 or 500 emails a day. Maybe we can get that down to a reasonable number and increase the likelihood that somebody will actually read an email versus having to try to filter through the volume to determine which ones apply to you, are more important, less important, so on and so forth. Questions about AP 3720? Comments about AP 3720? This is in fact already in place at many of the colleges and universities across the country. I was shocked as someone who's been here, I think, approaching 6 years, that this wasn't already in place in our district. This is not an intent to censor. This is an attempt to be efficient and effective in the use of emails in a much better way than we currently are. Comments? Yes.
So yes, some of the, we actually brought it forward yesterday at the Senate, and there was a little bit of a discussion about it. Some more specific concerns on how this is gonna play out. This is a district procedure, but then it will come down to each college to determine, that was my percentage, how it's going to be worked out in terms of who has authority to use the DL.
Yes.
So I just wanted, everyone that was at the Senate to reassure that, again, it's gonna be the college that's gonna determine that, and that there's gonna be some conversations around it. But that this is a procedure coming down from the district, and it's pretty much a done deal. So then we will have the conversations on who and how that process is gonna happen for San Diego State College.
Yeah, and it will, and it'll take place here, and we can kind of chat about that now and add it for a full agenda at a later date. I can share with you how I would hope for consideration about this to be implemented, and how it has been implemented at other colleges. One, we would reduce the number of DLs to a manageable number, because that number is somewhat out of control right now. Two, general emails sent to the campus would be cleared through the public information officer. Sorry, Caesar, but get ready. And then there would be I'm going to use the word manager, but not in terms of collective bargaining standards. There would be a lead for every DL. And if somebody wants to send a message through that DL, they would work with that lead. Now, what's going to take a little bit more time are those DLs that are not currently manned, because some of them already are currently manned. So if there is a DL for the academic senate, then I would defer to the academic senate to decide who the lead for that is. And so on and so forth. There are some of them that are, I believe, are fairly easy. Where it starts to get complex is those DLs that are not currently manned, but they exist. That's where it's going to get interesting. And I think when in doubt, if there is not someone who either volunteers or that is easily identifiable, we're probably going to default to the public information officer's office, because that's just how it's been in every other campus that I've worked at.
Yeah, and that was a little bit of what they were asking. For example, if somebody has an event, who you know, it's an extra layer, which I understand, but it's good, but then who will be in charge? Would that announcement will be sent out in a timely manner? So it's just a little bit of, you know, who will be in charge of the events on campus, I imagine, and then sending that and making sure that it goes out. So I think we can work it out, but that will be an interesting process in terms of who is in the lead, so everyone knows what they need to do to make sure we get the information.
Yes.
I just wanted to add, because I was listening closely, I was looking for, was there a when this happens? When this occurs?
Well, so first it's got to be formally approved by the Board of Trustees, which means it needs to go to the board for approval. It's going through the
It was
constituent.
approved at DGC.
Yeah, so it's
Okay.
likely to go to the November or December board meeting. And then from there, the board meeting will be determined when it's implemented, but it is likely to be implemented in spring semester. It's too soon. We're in the middle of the
I agree.
semester.
I just wanted to reemphasize, because when we say people have to hear it so many times before they really hear it. I heard what Maria Jose was saying with planning in there, and Ricky, thank you for that. But planning is the key here, right? I mean, planning is the key. So if you think you need to go and get something out on a DL in the next 5 minutes and you didn't plan for it, it's probably not gonna happen. I mean, you really have to make that planning in advance.
Yep.
So I just want to emphasize.
Did you say plan?
Plan.
Yeah, not wait until the last minute.
Yeah, and so what I'll ask publicly now is for Caesar to start doing some research on how other colleges are handling this, and then ask Caesar to take a first approach, both here and likely to carry this out in the entire campus in terms of a communications plan for use of the DLs. Where we will need people's help, frankly, is that none of us know all the DLs that exist because there are too many of them. And I am not suggesting that we do away with some of them, but I would want to know the frequency in which some of them are being used to determine the list of priorities. And then again, we can track in certain situations the click-through rate and the open rate, and folks, emails are not being read. And I can tell you that they're read at a higher percentage when there's a video in it versus text. So those folks who are adamant about getting their information out, 9 times out of 10, it's never even open. And I'm not saying I agree with that. I'm saying that statistically, the probability of emails being read when the volumes of email are such as they are right now. So just keep that in mind. Caesar and his team are always willing and able to post flyers for events on social media, on our various social media platforms, and frankly, to text information out. That it has a higher probability of being actually viewed versus sending an email on a DM. That is scientifically researched and validated. But we will come up with a strategy, Caesar. I've asked you to start working on that, and we will present that as it is board approved. And certainly we are open to feedback, because we don't want anyone to believe that we are trying to censor them. We can't censor you if people aren't reading the email in the first place. But we believe in the freedom of speech. But we also know that the volume of emails that many of us are receiving has just gotten out of control. Any other thoughts about that matter? Hearing none, I am going to turn it over to Roxanne. And before I turn it over to Roxanne, let me just say publicly, tonight we have absolutely conveyed the Nights Patrol and are open, because I am all out of ideas on the name. And so if we have an idea of a name, please send it to Roxanne, because she will gladly, unless she already came up with another name. So I'm gonna turn it over to campus safety is and continues to be our #1 priority. So as it starts to get dark at night, I commissioned Roxanne, as I do in a lot of things, to look at campus safety, so that particularly those walking over the lot three, know that we are aware of people's concerns about certain areas of the campus that are both in our control and outside of our control. As recently as our board meeting, John Parker and I stayed later afterwards and certainly noticed that on 16th Street, all of the lights in the city are off. I want to commend Jay and his team. They went to the parking garage and cleaned up the shrubs and bushes in that area, asking him to put down maybe some mulch, make it look a little bit better than it currently does. But what the priority was safety, that no one could wonder if someone was hiding or living in the bamboo that was in that area. It is now done. And I certainly appreciate our facilities jumping on that. They also jumped on bringing additional lights into that area. And let me stop there before I start taking up all of Roxanne's presence. Roxanne, the floor is yours. I'm sorry.
Well, thank you for having me. Some of this content is probably going to be familiar for those that were here 2018, 2019. We had 4 students that served as our night patrol. Denise and I worked on this and kind of took this plan around. So we're just relaunching it. We're bringing students back in. We're also bringing some volunteers from our own campus communities that will start working Halloween, the next Monday. So we will have 6 campus volunteers who I have to give shout out to our great facilities team, because they're the ones that are going to be doing it for us until we get our students on board. So they're going to be wearing the cool jackets. They're going to be outside from 5 to 10. They're going to be kind of in strategic areas where there are classes that have late ending times. So we're kind of we met earlier today and kind of mapped out the schedule. They will be trained with our campus police lead, the acting Lieutenant Stone, on Thursday. So they're kind of, the idea is that they're going to be our eyes and ears, and they're going to also support students that are primarily going from campus to our parking garages, and also provide a safeguard chaperone service. So with that,
Maybe that's the name, chaperone service.
safeguard chaperone service. We just threw that out there right now.
Can I make a motion
Somebody
to
system.
disapprove?
I second that motion. There it is. Chaperone.
Disapprove,
He did that. So what I was saying, so I didn't want to say campus escort service. So we were trying to.
I'm glad you didn't say escort service.
And say that that
It might
would
be
be a good
used
idea.
a lot though.
So we were trying to find a different service, a different name to kind of provide that service. So this is the idea. We do know that campus police, and people are kind of hesitant in calling campus police for a chaperone. So the idea is that we have identified Billy, who most people know at night, Billy, Alan, and also Robert, to help facilitate either walking our employees and students to their cars or providing cart service. They'll have carts to actually cart our employees to our either parking garage students to their location that they need to go to. So that was the idea, to kind of take the burden off of our campus police and also take away that hesitation that we all may experience when wanting to call campus police. So it's more of a friendly type stroll to the campus or to the parking lot versus something that seems kind of like, official or protected or something like that. So more casual than official, I would say. So that's something that is going on. It will start Monday. So we know daylight savings time is coming up. What is it, November 6th or something like that? In 2 weeks. So it's coming up soon, but it is getting darker sooner. So they will be on board Monday following night, which is very appropriate, I would say. And there will be 6 of them strategically in pairs throughout the campus and placed in buildings or near buildings where we know there's classes going on in the late evening.
Yes. Can I make a suggestion that see if you can recruit some female students? I can imagine female students not wanting to be walking with to men, even if they're conversation?
So we have male and female.
Oh, okay, perfect.
So
I only heard male
two
names.
two students right now going through the process. The actual female student has a security background.
Okay.
She has a security background, and the student has a medic background.
Okay,
So
perfect.
they
Sorry,
are-
I
they
didn't
are
hear the
two
female
students-
names.
Yeah, so our students are, and they're very diverse, and they are very aware of our campus grounds. So
Awesome, thank you.
you're welcome.
Can we put that here? Just so, we're gonna send this to the campus, so can we just be intentional and just say that there are both
Male and female.
as chaperones?
Okay.
And can we agree
Support
that it be
staff?
night chaperone service?
Yeah.
Campus concierge.
What's that?
Night chaperone service?
And can you tell me again how people can find?
Tilly
it?
suggested night watch, but maybe night watch support or something like that.
Do we wanna tell people they're being watched though?
Yeah, it's so weird.
So I think we should just call it night chaperone service, because that's really what it is. We're chaperoning people to their, but if someone has a better name, send it to Roxanne, because we're in support of it.
I'm gonna tell you, starting Monday, they're gonna be wearing these jackets that say Night Patrol. So
Okay, that's
they will
fine.
be here. If there's something in the future that we come up with something different, I'll be glad to order something different, but with the time constraints and making sure that these things have to happen before the start of daylight savings time, I had to expedite this and call in some favors. So
Yes.
the
Thank you for
jackets will
calling.
be here on Thursday. So I want to make sure that, moving forward, if there's something that we change.
Can we get a picture of the three people, maybe in the presentation before it goes out to campus, so that people know who they are?
Okay.
And then, Maria Jose, you asked that there's a phone number,
Okay.
and let's figure out a way, Roxanne, to make the phone number prominent. I know it's underlined next to the red, and I barely saw it because I don't have glasses on. But what'll happen after this presentation is I've asked Roxanne to work with Maria Jose and the classified center to go do presentations there. But there'll also be an email communication that go out to students and the entire campus that talks about this, so people will be more knowledgeable and aware of it. And I'm sure that Caesar will be sending it out on social media regularly. So there'll be a whole promotional piece to this to get the word out, flyers, banners, well, not banners, signs, A-frames, that sort of thing.
Yeah, even if we can get faculty some, then we can take it to our classroom and put it in the classrooms too inside. So we can get a few flyers.
Okay.
Yeah. that'd be- just to
And-
help
and-
out.
If there's anyone that wants to volunteer, please let me know from that time, from 5 to 10, if you want to, serve your campus community. We are open, we'll give you a cool jacket, a whistle and a flashlight.
I will take a couple days if you can work with my office. I'd like to do a couple days. I would encourage the vice presidents to do the same. And so we'll get involved in it as well, a couple of days in the process. Be a great way to interact with people on campus that we don't traditionally interact with.
Yeah, I'll bring it up at chairs.
Okay, thank you.
One
All right,
question
moving-
is,
One more question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
did you say the training was this Thursday?
This Thursday, there will be a training for the people that have already dedicated to doing this service. So then, once this Thursday is complete, they will start Monday on Halloween, 10/31.
And this is a paid job for the students, right?
Yes, they will be paid. They would be project assistants in the actual system.
Very nice.
Any other questions for Roxanne? Please share this information. There are people who are legitimately and rightfully concerned. We are in downtown, and we have neighbors, and we respect and support our neighbors. But we also want to make sure that we take into consideration people's safety getting to and from their cars, particularly when it gets night. If you have some concerns about an area that maybe we're not familiar with, we regularly walk the campus, try to identify those areas, but you may be aware of something that we're not. Please let us know so that we can tend to that. If there is a light out, if something is going on and you think we know, but you see it every day, please reach out to John Parker's office, Jay's office, Roxanne's office, so that we can give it some attention. Again, we would not have known that all the lights out are on the street. We're working with the city to try to see when those lights are gonna come back up.
They're on.
They are back up.
They're on.
Okay, good.
I was-
Roxanne, Jay and I will walk the campus this evening, this week, and also Lieutenant Stone asks his officers to rope the campus looking for potential risks and light outages and whatnot for this week.
Questions, ideas, concerns? Hearing none. Again, thank you, Roxanne, for your leadership on this, and look forward to you sending that communication out to the campus, and Caesar sending it out via our social media outlets. And speaking of Caesar, campus events, there are a lot of things going on for people to get involved in. Want to publicly thank everyone who has attended many of the Latinx Heritage Month, Filipino American History Month, LGBT history. I mean, there are things going on campus, folks. We are doing our best to get campus life back to where it was pre-pandemic. Caesar.
Yeah, so with all these events, there's an area on the website, if you're not familiar with our website, it's the Google Calendar. And Victor has been working with a lot of areas around campus to add these to the Google Calendar, and also identify folks in different areas to put those events on the calendar as well. And so I just wanted to share where that location is at. So you could either go through quick links and
You have to click on it once to activate it.
sometimes if it drops down, it gets on a little long, but.
No pressure, no pressure.
Calendar of events, click here. And the listing of events are right over here. And so when you click in, it'll have information about location, if it's a Zoom event, RSVP, whatnot. So all this information is on here. And the way we find out about events is usually if somebody uses a DM, or they send it either directly to me or Victor, and then we put that onto the Google Calendar. And then another way to navigate here to the Google Calendar is also just a search. So if you go on here and just put events, this should be the first link here. That's the Google events there. And the way we also promote events too, so I know a lot of people, like what President Sabah said, that it's sent through via email as well. So we try to share the events through email, social media outlets, flyers on campus, and especially on the website. Yes, questions?
Is there a formal process? I know, I'm such a broken record. Process or procedure, like, hey, fill this out and we will put it on the calendar and then
Yes,
we will
there
do
is.
this.
Go to the planning website, please. Just type in planning at city. There's something.
This just makes me happy. to
There
hear
is
that there's a
something
process.
called an event plan. And every dean and every vice president and every coordinator should be aware of the event plan. That is small, but somewhere on there should be the link to the event plan. You click that out. You click on that, the document comes up, you fill that out, you get that to Caesar and your dean, and they will take it from there.
See, geez, that was the best non-birthday present you could ever give me. Thank you.
I had an additional question, since
Yes.
you mentioned flyers. Are you indicating that you are the flyer person, or people create their own flyers?
It depends. So for flyers, if it's a flyer to a small group or to your program, we ask that you guys, that program create the flyer. If it's a larger event or campus-wide, we'll be glad to help create those. And for both, well, we're also glad to support and share those flyers or event flyers out.
Yeah, and Caesar will be sending that to the campus. That is, for some, going to be a change. Caesar's office cannot keep up with the volume of requests for flyers. And some of the flyers that people are requesting, frankly, really could be done in-house. And so if it is not a college event going to the public, it is likely that you should make the flyer. Caesar and his team are gonna work on some templates to make it easier for you to make those flyers. But some of the flyers that he's receiving requests for, frankly, are not a good use of his time, when he really should be out marketing to the community to get our enrollment back up. And so every time he's having to make 20, 30, 40 flyer requests in one day, he is a staff right now of 2. And believe it or not, it is not in his job description to make flyers. And so he will be sending that out to the campus. We're just seeing some people dependent on his office for flyers that really don't need to be designed at that level to have a professional degree or training in design. There are other offices on this campus who don't ever go to Caesar's office for flyers. And
I'm
so-
mad that I haven't been using these for my flyers now.
So we will send that out in a communication because we have set an unrealistic expectation for Caesar and his very limited office. And then we start to hear things like, why isn't the website updated or other things that frankly, in the grand scheme of the organization are a lot more important. Not to say that having a flyer for an event isn't, but when he has to spend time to do that, he's not updating your program on the website or all the other main college communication channels that he oversees. Other questions, and Caesar, it is important that we get that out to the campus sooner rather than later. Anything else for the good of the order?
Yeah, I'd like to jump in. We have an event coming up this Thursday. We're going to be celebrating and recognizing classified professionals in this very room. From 10 to 11, we're going to be having coffee and activities for classified, but the campus community is invited to come out. Come and share and recognize with classified. Our classified senate will be here if you'd like to talk with us. It's going to be sort of an open office setting, so you can chat with us, share anything, and look at some of the projects that we're doing.
Yes, Robbie.
Also, tomorrow is, well, this month is Cybersecurity Awareness Month.
Yes, it is.
And tomorrow, we're holding, City College and District IT are co-hosting a cybersecurity awareness program. That begins at 10 o'clock, actually 9:30 for reception, 10 o'clock in MS 163, the auditorium in the corporate center. And there's been a new change. They just added another part to the program, which will be at 11 o'clock, a discussion from Microsoft about multi-factor authentication, MFA. So you'll see a little bit more about that. That just came down the pipe, but 2 events all wrapped up into one setting tomorrow, starting at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, and Robbie, I'm going to ask that this be brought back on the next college council, and I actually, forgive me, because I meant to add this with 3720, because while it's not the same, it's connected in my mind. And real quick, if you could elaborate for those of us that are not familiar with this kind of jargon, what multiple authenticating of an email happens to be. And then I'm gonna ask that this actually be added to the next college council. There was an email, folks, that went out about this, but this is an example that if we didn't thoroughly read the email, this is about to catch a whole lot of people by surprise, and I may be one of them, because we're already hearing stories about this.
Yes, it's a big deal. I'll go really quick. Multi-factor authentication. Many of you have experienced it when you're using other devices where you have to do another check-in through your phone, getting a code to complete your authentication. The district is moving to that method because of necessity. We've been bombarded by malware, and frankly, it's the only way to keep everyone safe. It's being done in a very thoughtful manner. We actually are going to be scheduled, I think, to have it beginning. It's been pushed back to November 8th, where it actually will go into effect. It was part 1 of 2 different measures. The first part, of course, is just that you'll have to do 2 steps to sign in. The second one is that you'll be more severe, perhaps that's not the best way to say it, but a more intense password usage, that you cannot have a simple password that anyone can guess. And the frequency in which you'll have to change your password probably will just be at a greater frequency. So there's much more information coming on that in very short order.
Yeah.
But it's all to protect everyone's ability to navigate online.
And while I agree fundamentally, let me just say publicly, this is about to start causing problems. It is a change. It is actually a significant change. And many of us, myself included, are creatures of habit. And if we are not accustomed to doing this, this is going to be a headache.
Yeah.
It is the right thing to do, but this is about to be a headache. And so what I would hope we would do, Robbie, is to work with Caesar, because this is something I would like him to make a flyer on. And what I've seen come out of IT thus far isn't at the level that I think people are going to be prepared for this. So I'm going to shoot a video on Friday. This is going to be one of the topics, but this is an example of something that I don't think should be communicated via email. Because you're emailing someone that there's a change to the email. There should be videos, there should be FAQs. We are an institution of higher learning. We all learn differently. And so the people who are not astute computer users are about to have an experience that may not be favorable for them. And so I haven't seen any FAQs, I haven't seen any videos. This is just getting rolled out in email. And so I want to do my due diligence. I'm going to work with Caesar and shoot a video on Friday that says that this is coming. In a perfect world, I hope that this would have been sent out with a video that showed people like what this works, how this works, because we're already hearing a great deal of discomfort from people who didn't fully understand the implications of doing X versus Y or Z. Let me give an example, and then I'm gonna get off my soapbox. One of the ways to authenticate your email is to use a phone number. Well, if you use your work phone number and you're checking your email at home, guess where it's gonna call? Your work. Then you're gonna be locked out, right? So there are some things that all of us are going to learn, and it's gonna cause a great deal of discomfort. And so I would ask and appeal to you, Rob, that the president has formally requested that IT roll out some videos on this, on how to do it. And that's what these info sessions are for, and this rollout is, but I'm fearful, like all the other emails that we get, that people are not gonna show up, and then this is gonna be rolled out, and then that's when people are gonna realize the potential implications of this. This is a huge change to what we have become accustomed to. So please add this to the agendas of your meetings with your constituency groups. Prepare people for this. I'm gonna do my part. I'm gonna shoot a video and say that this is coming. Get ready. If I was you, I would have a spreadsheet, and I would have variations of my password written down, because I have multiple logins from my personal, my banking, and all of this is going to blend in with itself. Now, I hope I'm wrong, but we've already sat through a meeting where people said, hey, you didn't say this was going to be like this.
It is gonna be a big change. The Senate knows it's coming, but it will be super helpful to have like a step-by-step on what it looks like for all of us to understand.
I would just add to that, you mentioned a spreadsheet, because I do the same, but whatever document it is, make sure it's password protected. If someone's hacks your system and gets a hold of that, they have all of your access. So I have a spreadsheet as well, it's password protected, encrypted.
I just use Dashlane.
I just wanted to follow up, Robbie, you mentioned
Yes, in the cloud.
those two events are gonna be recorded.
They're gonna be live streamed internally, so that's the team Microsoft stream. So it doesn't go out like YouTube, it stays in-house within the district.
So if I'm not available
You can
tomorrow at all,
watch it either as a recording Or if you were watching it live, you can watch it from your desktop.
Where do people go for help?
Or MFA.
Yeah, so I would hope that as we are training people, teaching people how to do this, that there would be an open lab that I can go to, that someone who knows how to do this can help me do it. See, we're assuming the people who roll these kind of things out are already techies. So they're already accustomed to these kind of approaches. The people we're asking to do this tend to not be. So we don't create a safe space where people can come into an open lab and learn how to do this. Are we gonna do the work on the back end or are we gonna do it on the front end? So if that hasn't been considered, I'd also ask you to convey that to those who are rolling this out, that we are formally requesting some kind of open lab where somebody can come and sit with someone who knows how to do this, so that they can either practice or learn how to do it with somebody who knows how to do it. Or we're just asking people, hey, here's how you do it, good luck.
Just to say this, and it's not the same as what you're mentioning, so it's a good add-on. But they are set up for the IT help desk to walk people through each and every one of these if need be. We were actually the last college, not with the MFA, last college to do a cybersecurity awareness program. And these have been parts of our conversations as they were going throughout the district. But yes, to your point, certainly, we can try this. We may have to just create our own.
So am I the only one in here who has a problem that if I'm locked out of something and I gotta call somebody who's not where I'm at to help me explain what I'm seeing that they're not seeing, to help me fix what I don't know how to fix? How does that work? There's actually a comedian, I was gonna tell a joke, but then I realized it was at work, but there's a comedian who actually tells a joke that he got a call from someone who asked him how to fix something, and they get into a whole argument about what you mean you don't see that? You should see that. No, that's not what I see. I mean, that's, oh my God. Anyways, this is coming, it's here, and the train has left the station. I would like to see drop-in open labs with people who know how to do this, so that people who would like some help or would like to practice before they do it to their own, understand the implications. Yes.
Is this the new student emails? Are they gonna be two-factor as well?
Robbie?
I couldn't quite hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. The new student emails, are they gonna be two-factor?
Students will be subjected to MFA.
Yes, students are gonna be,
Okay.
which is part of what people concerned were that if it's hard for us, also, for students, it's gonna be.
For some students, it's not gonna be a problem at all, and for others, it will be a big problem. We're gonna see like that huge divide.
Yeah, but we do need to prepare for what's coming.
I can make a comment on having difficulty already setting up the email. I'm just looking at it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is a reason, frankly, that we need to diversify the tech industry. Because we have people who are sitting behind a desk, designing things for the masses who don't have the same lived reality of the people who they're designing the things for. And I'll just use an example and I'll get off my soapbox. When we saw the process to change the password, it was asking a question, well, where did you go to middle school? Well, what if you come from a country that they don't even use them, they don't have a middle school, right? I mean, just when we talk about cultural competency, I can only hope and pray that the people who designed this took the end user, it kept them in mind when it rolls out. And so far, what I'm hearing is that hasn't been the case. And so, Robbie, I would like to see open labs and a schedule and flyers where people can come. And now that thank you, Anna, I would want students to be able to come and learn how to do this from somebody who knows how to do it, versus calling on the telephone, sitting in front of a computer somewhere else that may be good connection, may not be good connection. And, oh, wow, this is gonna be
Yeah.
Positive, man.
So I'm wondering, yeah. They can wait.
Yes. It is going to be great. It's going to be an adventure. I love my job. I think we need to tweak this a little bit, and this is here. And if you have some concerns or ideas, please reach out to us so that we can advocate on behalf of folks who don't have a voice, who may not have the same skill set as the individuals who may have put this together. We will get through this. It'll be a challenge in the beginning, like any change. It is necessary. Let me say that it is absolutely necessary. With that said, folks, thank you all. It's good to see you all. We'll do this again, same time, same place. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.